So in this video, we are going to be setting up a trailer. Got tired of trying to find a trailer that's available and having to run too far, adding time to my trip, returning it, worrying about damaging other people's equipment. So I went and got a trailer. So what I've got is a load trail. Low deck. It's 102 wide. So as wide as it can be. It's just a straight deck. It's a 14,000 pound trailer. I did the fold up ramps because if you have the tilt, the front of the deck will come up, and that can affect something that I'll show you later here. And if you had the flat deck with the max ramps, the incline on it would be steeper. So what I did, this is what I ended up with. Got it home, and these ramps are still a little steep for my mom's car. So we'll have to build a set of ramps, and I'll show you that in a different video. But for now, we're trying to put storage on this trailer. This trailer has no toolbox on it right now. No tongue box, no nothing on it. So what we're gonna do is, while I'm at my parents' house, I'm going to put a document holder in the toolbox. That way, it's got a place for the paperwork for the trailer. And then we're gonna go to my house with it and install the box onto the trailer, and then I'll show you what I plan on putting in the box for this trailer. So no matter what, when I have this trailer, I have this stuff. It's all I'm gonna need for when I have this trailer. So stick with me here and I'll show you what I'm doing. All right, one of the things is on this document holder. This is the one I like to use because it's aluminum construction. Some of them are plastic, and they get dried out and crack and don't do well. This one, the caps are a rubber, soft rubber. They hold up really good. A lot of semi-trailers for the guys that come through the shop I work at, this is what they'll use. And I just like the product. So this is the one I always use. There's a couple different options you can do. You could, I could mount it inside, but then it's kind of harder to get to. And on the wall or whatever, change it up. You can mount it to the roof of the toolbox, and this toolbox, on this toolbox particularly, there is a piece that is inside that is away from the face of the toolbox. So when we drill the holes in it and then pop rivet into place, you won't be able to see the pop rivets on the outside. That is one of the reasons I like that setup. So when you're doing it, you want to make sure that it will close. It would be bad to have it set way out on the outside and then it comes down and you can't close your toolbox anymore. So there's some stuff here. I need to get something to mark this, and then we'll get drilling some holes. So there's my toolbox with the document holder, and from the outside, there's no differences. And I can keep my trailer registration, any other information in where it's safe. I know where it is, and if for some reason somebody else is pulling this trailer, they also have all the paperwork for the trailer with them. I'm gonna pick this stuff up, and next thing you'll know, we'll be at my house. And we're home. So now we're gonna get this stuff moved over here. We're gonna go and get some steel pulled out, and I'll show you what I've got planned to secure this to the neck of the trailer. So roughly this is where it'll be. Clears everything pretty nice. And this is what we're going to use to tie it down. We've got a piece of 2-inch wide strap that's going to be used for the back, and then this wider piece here, we're actually going to cut a notch in it back here and then across, and do the same thing on this side. So on the front of this cross member here, it's got a gap between this angle and the inside of the frame. So what we're going to do is put a hook in it kind of like that and come up and slide it into place. And that way it'll slide into place on both this side and that side, and make it so it can't slide backwards. It'll keep it in place. We're also going to put some rubber mat between where we bolted up to keep any vibrations or anything, any squeaks from happening. So I'll have to get it all measured out and get a good measurement for everything and start cutting on this stuff, because both of these pieces are just a little too long to go right into place, which is better than being a little too short to work. So here we go. So what I did is I marked how wide that piece of angle is, and measured how wide that piece of angle iron is across the tongue of the trailer, and marked how far back. So I've got 1 7/8 inches of material that will be behind that cross member, because this isn't quite 3 inches. And what I did is I marked out how wide that angle is, and then I marked out how wide the channel is on the side of the angle. So now I gotta go measure how thick that angle is to figure out how big of a channel I want to cut here, and then I'll figure out the angle I want to cut this on after I get this big piece of cutting done, because I'm going to be cutting for a little while on that. So I'll be right back and get that measurement. So I got my measurement, and I'm going to give myself a little bit of wiggle room here. So I gave myself about 1/8 inch worth of wiggle back and forth to be able to get it in there easy enough. Now I think I want to give it about a 1-inch finger on each side. That would give it more than enough room to do what I want it to do. Matter of fact, I think I'm going to, from that straight cut, to give it the 1-inch finger, I will find a socket that fits this area, and then use it as, to figure out what radius I want to do that corner. So, like, I've got a 1/2-inch socket here. The outside of that socket fits almost perfectly. So that's where I'm going to cut it, is I'll cut all that paint pin off of it. It'll round the corner nice. And eliminate any sharp edges. If you have a vise on your table, and all you can do is clamp like that, right? Well, if you've got a C-clamp, what you can do is put your C-clamp in the vise nice and tight. It's not going anywhere. And now you can put your steel in the C-clamp and you can cut like this. Little trick for you. So now, if this was cut at the right angle on these, this should slip right into place. I'm gonna have to take the flat disc and go over all the edges, get them all nice and smooth. But I still have to cut the edges off, so now I'm gonna have to figure out how to get the right, got a straight edge here. That side's still a little warm, but it could be, you know, I've got a mark here for 20 inches or 22 inches, but that tongue could be angled like that, or it could be angled like that. So it depending on the, or anywhere in between, depending on the angle of the tongue is where I have to cut it. I can't just cut it here, because then back here might not hit the channel, and up here might hit the channel so hard I can't get this into place. So let's move you outside. All right, now that we're over the tongue of the trailer, so this will sit in underneath this like this, and it'll catch the angle. Just do it like that. Now I'll go get a straight edge and mark that out. All right, I can cut on those lines. It'll take just a little extra off, and it should fit right down in there. It lines up really good with my 22 inches mark. So that should give, once I cut there's my 22 inches mark. So if I cut on the inside of this line that I just made, that should give me a little bit of wiggle room on each side to slide this right up into place. The idea is that goes in just like that. And I'll drill some holes, bolt it to the bottom of the toolbox.
All right, final fitment. I've got all the edges smoothed out as good as I want them. Slides up into place. There's only a little bit of movement there. And when you get it bolted up tight, it'll work great. There's a little bit of a gap there because it's catching, you know, the angle on this side first, but I'll figure something out to kind of help with that. I might stack some washers or something in there. That way it's tight. But I'll drill some mark and drill some holes right now. And then I'll get the box set up over it, where front to back where the box needs to be, and then I'll put paint pen through the holes in that to mark the bottom of the toolbox. Once the bottom of the toolbox is marked, I can flip it over and drill the holes in it and bolt it up with this front piece. And then I'll start working on the back one. So you can see there's a little bit of slop there. So we want to stay kind of in one place. And I'm just going to eyeball it. About there is where I want it. Do 5/16. That'll be more than enough to hold it in place. All right, now we're underneath the trailer. This is the piece of angle. It'll go up like that. The box will go forward, get into position. I'm gonna have to square it up, but then I'll be able to put paint pen through my holes, and then I'll mark the bottom of the box. I'll know where to drill my holes in the bottom of the toolbox. So I held it up there, I used a paint pen, marked it all out. It was kind of hard to reach, but I made it work. All right, those bolts aren't even tight yet, and I'd almost be willing to bet that would stay in place. I don't even have the second mount. Here, let me show you. So there it is. It's hooked around this angle. It's got some bolts through it and goes through the bottom of the toolbox. And I've got them in there loose because I'm gonna have to take them out, but I'm going to work on getting another one across the back to hold the back down, help hold the back down, reduce rattles and stuff as much as I can. So get you up here, try to get you a good shot. go get that other piece. See, it's so long that it's clear back here. And I want it tucked up underneath so you don't see it. So let's go get a tape measure and do some measuring. So this is 2 inches wide. So let's say I don't want to mount it there. I've got to be under 29 and a half there. That's at the back of the box. So that front of the cross piece, I'm gonna have to be 28. All right, here's your piece. Like I said, the back side of the toolbox needs to be under 29 and a half, so I marked it out at 29 and a quarter. That's under, that gives me 1/8 of an inch on both sides or so. I marked out halfway down that, and then I doubled it, or I marked it again on the other side. Now the front has to be 28, so 14 out from the center, and now I have my marks for the front of the bar. Now I can take the straight edge and go from one spot to the other. And there's my cut line. So now all I gotta do is cut them off, clean this bar up, and then I can stick it up there, decide where I want my holes, and then drill some holes through this, stick it up there again, mark the toolbox again, take the toolbox back off, drill some more holes, and the toolbox will be ready to be bolted down, but these brackets will need painted. So I'm gonna get to cutting. And like I did before, I'm just gonna go out there, hold it up, kind of mark where the holes I want the holes to be. Oh. And after I mark the holes, I'll come in and drill them. Well, that didn't make a mark. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull the tip of the paint pen out a little bit. And yes, I am just eyeballing this. Something you'll never see. Did that still not make a mark on this side? What the heck? Did. All right, we got our 2 marks. I'll pull this toolbox off and we'll go inside and drill some holes. Ooh, I'm gonna pull a trailer. All right, I'm gonna put a little bit of rubber between the box and the frame and these mounting brackets in the frame. But that should be everything we need to make this work. It's not going to be able to slide back because it locks around there, and once everything is tight, it won't be able to move either. So that'll be perfect. Now I can disassemble this and paint these 2 brackets here. So all right, while that paint dries, I figured I'd talk about what I plan on keeping in this trailer. So first off, a chain like this. So it's a Y-shaped chain or a V-shaped chain, comes together on this big loop here. So what you can do is these hooks can go into the bodies of pretty much any car somewhere. And then you can shorten the legs like that, whatever you need, and then you hook your winch on and pull them up onto the trailer. And then to strap it down, I'm going to have ratchet binders like that, one for each corner of the vehicle. I decided to do chain ones to go through the stake pocket. You can go through the stake pockets or the D-rings or whatever you need to do to go through to tie it down. Then, so that's how you can secure them. And then I've got, for the straps, now the straps have this D-ring at the end of them and this strap protector. You can do it a couple different ways. You can have the strap like that, and you can go around the top of the wheel and then around the top of the wheel like that. Say my hand is the top of the wheel, and then pull it tight. Or you could feed it through the spoke around the rim and tire, and then go through, pull it through and everything. And strap it down tight like that, with my hand being a portion of the rim and tire. I don't love doing it that way because it never fails that one of the valve stems is in the way. So that's what I plan on putting in the toolbox. All right. Well, the paint's drying. I've got it, got some black sprayed on it now. While the paint's drying, we're going to turn our attention to inside the toolbox. One of the first things I like to do when I get a toolbox is I like to line the bottom of the box. Box is turned upside down right now. We got some generic foam mat here, and we're just going to roll it out over the top of it enough where we can take a pair of scissors and just cut off the section we're going to cut down. Alright, now that we got it cut down, let's find one of the edges, lay it out smooth on the edge across, and just pick a side where you want to start. And since you're cutting along the outside of it, cut it just inside the box, because the wall does take up space. So if you cut it to the exact outside dimensions, it'll fold up in the bottom of it and it won't lay flat. That'll work for what I need it to do. So we'll lay that off to the side. And then, like I said, I was going to put insulation between the toolbox and the frame of the trailer and that kind of thing. What I'm doing is I'm using a welcome mat from a cheap one from Walmart. And I just take a real long straight razor like that because it's easier to make a straight line if I need to. And I just cut off what I need, size I need it, and I'll lay it down there, and when I pinch bolt it in. What you can also do with this stuff, I like using this stuff for this kind of thing.
What you can also do is cut it to size, whatever size you need, and then put like black RTV on it, and then stick it to whatever you're trying to do. I did that on this, which is going to come into play here in a minute. It sits on my gooseneck adapter, locks into place, and then it's got a rubber mat silicone to the bottom of it where it lays on the bed. But once what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this toolbox installed and everything in it, and then I'm going to show you what that adapter is for and why I like how this trailer is getting set up. So stay tuned.
All right, final install. The box is set down in place. The paint's still a little tacky. I've got little rubber strips in place underneath the box. Make sure they're still where I want them. Now I'm going to go grab a tape measure, make sure that box is square, because I didn't measure these holes, so this could be a one direction plate, and if I put them in the other direction the box might be off. So I'm going to go measure it, make sure it's where I want it. Alright, then I've got these two little rubber pads that I can put in here. That'll help insulate between this back one and the frame. Now the front one, it's kind of locking in place. There's not a good way to put the rubber in there that I see. I'm not that worried about doing it on that, so I'm just gonna do it on the back one here. Now, I think I'm going to grab a little black paint and kind of paint around this area. That way there's just a layer of paint on this stuff. All right. And on the inside, we can take that wrench off. Got the mat. Let's actually lay it this way so it rolls out better. It just kind of layers the bottom of the box, and you know, registration and everything for being legal can go right there. And then we put all our stuff in here. There it is for now. So I've got my chain for winching the car up on the trailer. And I got my 4 straps for tying it down to the trailer. Now, later I might add a couple like regular ratchet straps to like strap lumber down or whatever else I use this for, maybe some chains and binders, that kind of stuff. But for now, this is what I've got in there. And now I'll show you why I wanted a trailer or a toolbox that wasn't any taller than that front rack. So this is a little creation I made. It hooks to the gooseneck ball. It's got a 2-inch receiver on it. That way I can hook it up to the winch. And from winch height, it'll go right over the front of this trailer. Hook to any disabled car and pull it right up on there. And then, as far as battery, right down underneath, and I've got a plug in right underneath there. So I don't have to worry about having an extra battery or anything. It goes right off the truck battery. And I've got a cordless winch controller for this one. So all by myself, I can back up to the car, hook up to it, and pull it up on the trailer. And say I can't have it straight, the trailer's turned or something, my plan is to wrap around this bar, have a snatch block so it'll redirect fairly straight onto the trailer. But that's my plan for moving disabled cars. I'll have one of my later videos, I'm gonna have extended ramps built for these that will store on the bottom side of the ramps, the back side while they're folded up. That way lower profile cars like my mom's car, when you use just these ramps, the center of the car starts hitting the ramp before the tire hits the ramp. So you'll do a bunch of front end damage if you try to do it without having the front end pick up faster. So that's why I need the extended ramps. But that's what I've got. There's my toolbox install. And now we're ready for some work. Cool. Thanks for watching.